"It's so hot, take off my dress." The Apache woman left him breathless. The air was dry but carried the soft scent of wildflowers that grew in small clusters across the land. Among these plains lived a young Apache woman named Ayana. She was known in her village for her calm nature and her curiosity about the world beyond the hills. Even as a child, she would wander close to the riverbanks and watch the water flow, wondering where it came from and where it would go. Ayana lived with her family in a small, simple home made of earth and wood. Her parents were hardworking, teaching her the traditions and skills that had been passed down for generations. Her mother showed her how to gather herbs, prepare food, and make strong, soft clothing from animal hides. Her father taught her about the stars, the plants, and the animals that shared their land. Every lesson was a story in itself, and Ayana listened closely, absorbing everything like a sponge. She loved learning about the world, and she loved listening to stories from the elders in her village, who spoke of the history and the struggles of their people. Even though life was simple, it was not always easy. Sometimes the sun burned too fiercely, and water became scarce. The villagers had to plan carefully each day, ensuring there was enough food and water for everyone. Ayana learned early on to be mindful of every step she took in the hot sun. She would carry a small water pouch and keep an eye on the sky, noting the clouds and the wind. Her friends would often play and laugh in the open fields, but Ayana preferred to walk quietly, observing the birds and the animals, imagining the stories they might have if they could talk. One day, Ayana decided to explore farther than she ever had before. She had heard from the elders about a hidden valley beyond the hills, where rare herbs and beautiful flowers grew. The thought of discovering something new filled her with excitement. She packed a small bundle of food, tied her hair back with a simple cord, and set off early in the morning. The journey was not easy. The hills were steep, and the sun shone relentlessly, but Ayana did not complain. She stepped carefully, feeling the earth under her feet and listening to the distant calls of birds and the rustle of the wind through the grass. As she walked, she thought about her family. Her mother's gentle voice reminded her to always be careful and respectful of the land. Her father's words about courage and patience echoed in her mind. Ayana knew that every step she took was a lesson in itself, teaching her about her own strength and the power of the natural world around her. By the time the sun reached its peak, she was sweating and tired, but she did not give up. She found a small stream and drank the cool, clear water, feeling her energy return. She rested for a moment, sitting on a smooth rock, and watched the sunlight dance on the water. It was peaceful and calming, and she felt a deep connection to everything around her. As the day went on, the landscape changed. The plains gave way to rolling hills covered in wildflowers of every color. Ayana's heart lifted at the beauty around her. She carefully picked a few flowers, thinking they would make a lovely gift for her mother. She also spotted animals she had never seen before: a family of deer grazing quietly, a fox watching her from a distance, and a pair of hawks soaring high in the sky. Every moment felt like a discovery, and she recorded it all in her mind so she could share it with her family later. By late afternoon, she finally reached the hidden valley. It was more beautiful than she had imagined. The grass was soft and green, the flowers bright and colorful, and the air felt cooler, carrying the scent of the earth and the plants. She could hear the gentle flow of a small stream, and she noticed that rare herbs grew along its banks. Ayana carefully collected some, thinking about the medicines her mother could make with them. She felt proud and excited, knowing that this journey had taught her something new and valuable. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Ayana sat quietly in the valley. She watched the changing colors and listened to the sounds of nature around her. The birds were returning to their nests, and the small animals were preparing for the night. Ayana felt a deep sense of peace and accomplishment. She realized that even though the journey had been difficult, every step had been worth it. She had discovered a hidden part of her world, learned more about herself, and collected gifts for her family. As darkness fell, she lit a small fire to keep warm and cooked a simple meal from the food she had brought. She thought about the day and the lessons it had taught her. She understood that life was not always easy, but courage, patience, and respect for the world around her could lead to wonderful discoveries. That night, under a sky full of stars, Ayana promised herself that she would continue to explore, learn, and grow, always honoring the traditions of her family and her people. The morning sun rose slowly over the hidden valley, painting the sky in soft pink and orange hues. Gianna woke up to the gentle sound of birds singing and the trickle of the stream nearby. The night had been cool, and the fire she had lit the evening before had burned low, leaving a faint glow among the rocks. She stretched, feeling the stiffness in her muscles from the long walk the previous day, but also a sense of energy and determination. Today, she planned to explore even further into the valley and learn more about its secrets. Gianna carefully packed the herbs she had collected and tucked them into a small cloth bundle. She made sure to leave a few behind in the valley, knowing that nature needed to be respected and that taking too much could harm the plants. She believed that the balance of life was important and that every creature, every plant, had its place in the world. With her small bundle tied securely, she stepped onto the soft grass, feeling the cool morning dew under her bare feet. As she walked deeper into the valley, the terrain changed. The gentle hills gave way to rocky paths, and she had to climb carefully over stones and small boulders. Her heart raced with excitement and a little fear, but she remembered her father's words. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to move forward even when afraid. With each step, she felt braver, learning to trust her instincts and her knowledge of the land. Along the way, she noticed signs of animal life. Footprints of rabbits, foxes, and deer were scattered across the soft earth, telling stories of their movements. Gianna followed some of the tracks for a while, imagining the lives of the creatures who had made them. She thought about how each animal played a role in the balance of the valley, and how humans, too, must live carefully to respect nature. She picked up a fallen feather and examined it closely, appreciating the delicate patterns and the way it seemed to carry the wind wherever it went. After walking for several hours, Ayana discovered a small cave hidden behind a cluster of trees. Its entrance was partially covered by hanging vines, and she could feel the cool air coming from within. Curiosity filled her heart, but she approached cautiously. She remembered the stories the elders had told her about the land, about places that held secrets and lessons for those willing to seek them. She stepped inside, careful to watch her footing on the uneven ground. The cave smelled of earth and moss, and she could hear the faint sound of dripping water somewhere deeper within. Inside the cave, Ayana found ancient markings on the walls. They were faded but still visible, telling stories of people who had lived long ago in the same land she called home. She traced the patterns with her fingers, feeling a deep connection to the past. The symbols spoke of bravery, wisdom, and respect for the natural world. Yana felt a sense of awe. She realized that her journey was not just about exploring the valley, but also about understanding the stories and traditions of her ancestors. Each step she took was part of a larger story, one that stretched back through generations. After spending some time in the cave, she stepped outside again, breathing in the fresh air and feeling the warmth of the sun on her skin. The valley seemed even more alive now, as if it recognized her respect and curiosity. She decided to follow the stream further, hoping it would lead her to more discoveries. The water sparkled in the sunlight, and she could see small fish swimming near the edges. She dipped her fingers into the cool water, feeling the gentle flow, and smiled. There was a sense of peace in being close to nature, a feeling that made her forget all her worries. As she followed the stream, Ayana noticed a small group of wildflowers growing in a shaded area. They were different from the ones she had seen before, bright blue petals with delicate patterns. She knelt down to examine them, realizing that they could be very valuable for her mother's medicine making. She carefully picked a few, making sure to leave most untouched, honoring the life around her. She thought about how each small action mattered and how respect for nature could bring harmony to life. By late morning, the sun had risen high, and Ayanna felt hungry. She found a shaded spot beneath a large tree and unpacked the food she had brought. The simple meal of bread, dried fruit, and nuts tasted especially good after hours of walking. As she ate, she watched the valley around her, noticing how the sunlight shifted and brought different colors to the hills and trees. She felt connected to everything, the land, the animals, the sky, and she understood why her ancestors had always respected and protected it. After resting, she decided to continue exploring. She climbed a small hill, and from the top, she could see the full extent of the valley. It stretched far and wide, with patches of forest, flowing streams, and open fields. The sight filled her with wonder and pride. She realized that there were so many places left to discover, and that each journey would teach her something new about herself and her world. She imagined the stories she would tell her family when she returned, and her heart swelled with excitement. As the afternoon passed, Ayanna encountered challenges. A steep slope required careful climbing, and a fallen tree blocked part of her path. She remembered her father's lessons about patience and problem-solving. She looked for the safest way around, using branches and rocks for support. Each obstacle she overcame made her feel stronger and more confident. She realized that life itself was much like this journey, full of unexpected challenges that required courage, thought, and perseverance. Near the end of the day, she came across a clearing where the sunlight fell like golden beams through the trees. She noticed small creatures, rabbits hopping, birds chirping, and squirrels gathering food for the evening. Ayanna sat quietly and observed them, learning from their behavior. She understood that survival depended not only on strength, but also on careful observation, patience, and adaptation. She felt grateful for the lessons nature had offered her today. As the sun began to set, painting the sky with shades of pink and purple, Ayanna realized it was time to return to her small camp in the valley. She retraced her steps carefully, carrying the new herbs and flowers she had found. She thought about the importance of sharing her discoveries with her family and community, knowing that knowledge could help everyone survive and thrive. That night, she lit a fire again, cooked a small meal, and reflected on her journey. She understood that exploration was not only about discovering new places, but also about discovering oneself. The day had been long and tiring, but it had been filled with lessons about courage, respect, and curiosity. Under the starry sky, Ayanna made a promise to herself. She would continue learning from the land, respecting its wisdom and sharing its gifts with those she loved. The next morning, the sun rose with a warm glow, casting light over the hidden valley where Ayanna had made her temporary camp. She woke early, feeling a mixture of excitement and determination. The day ahead promised new discoveries, and she was eager to explore the parts of the valley she had not yet seen. She packed her small bundle of herbs and flowers carefully, making sure to leave some behind for nature to flourish. She tied her hair back neatly, adjusted her water pouch, and set out with a sense of purpose. As Ayanna walked along the stream she had discovered the day before, she noticed how the landscape was changing. The valley widened into a gentle plain surrounded by low hills, and clusters of trees provided patches of shade. Birds of different colors and sizes filled the air with song, and the gentle rustling of leaves in the breeze created a soothing rhythm. Ayanna felt a deep sense of peace as she moved carefully through this part of the valley, appreciating every detail: the scent of wildflowers, the texture of the earth beneath her feet, and the distant sound of flowing water. She soon came across a narrow path that led to a small grove of ancient trees. Their trunks were wide and gnarled, and the bark told stories of decades, perhaps even centuries, of growth and survival. Jana ran her fingers along one trunk, feeling the rough texture beneath her palm. She imagined the many creatures that had lived in the trees and the generations of humans who had walked beneath them. The grove felt like a secret sanctuary, a place untouched by time, and Ayana felt privileged to be there. She knew she had to be careful, leaving only her footprints and taking only memories and small offerings of respect. While exploring the grove, Ayana noticed tracks that were unfamiliar. They seemed larger than any she had seen before, with deep impressions in the soft earth. Curious, she decided to follow them cautiously. The tracks led her to a clearing where she saw a small herd of deer grazing quietly. Their ears twitched at every sound, and they moved gracefully across the grass. Jana stayed hidden, observing them without making a sound. She marveled at their elegance and how they seemed perfectly at home in the valley. Watching them, she thought about the balance of nature and how every creature had its role in the ecosystem. After some time, Ayana moved on, following the stream as it curved gently through the valley. The water sparkled under the sun, and she could see tiny fish darting through it. She knelt to drink a little water, feeling its coolness revive her energy. As she rested, she thought about her family back home. She imagined her mother preparing herbs and medicines from the plants she had collected, and her father teaching others about the stars and the land. She felt proud to carry on their knowledge and traditions, understanding that her journey was not only for herself, but also for the people she loved. Continuing her walk, Ayana encountered a small hill with rocky terrain. Climbing it was challenging, and she had to carefully choose each step to avoid slipping. She remembered her father's lessons about patience and perseverance. Even when the path seemed difficult, moving carefully and steadily allowed her to overcome obstacles. At the top of the hill, she paused to catch her breath. From this height, she could see the valley stretching far and wide, with sunlight dancing across the grass and water. The view filled her with wonder and a renewed sense of determination. She knew that there were still many parts of the valley left to explore. As she descended the hill, Ayana noticed signs of more life. Small nests tucked into the trees, burrows in the earth, and the occasional track of a fox or rabbit. She paused frequently to observe, learning from each detail. She understood that exploration was not just about moving from one place to another, but about paying attention, learning, and respecting every part of the environment. Each moment held a lesson, and she cherished them all. By midday, the sun had climbed high, and Ayana felt the heat on her skin. She found a shaded area beneath a large tree and unpacked a small meal. The bread and dried fruit tasted especially good in the quiet of the valley, surrounded by the gentle sounds of nature. While eating, she reflected on the journey so far. She realized that each step, each observation, and each challenge had helped her grow. She felt a deep connection to the land and a sense of responsibility to protect it. After resting, Ayana continued along the stream and discovered a small waterfall cascading over smooth rocks. The water created a soothing sound as it tumbled into a clear pool below. She approached carefully and knelt beside the pool, letting her fingers touch the cool water. The sight of the waterfall filled her with joy and wonder. She took a moment to breathe deeply, appreciating the beauty and power of nature. The pool seemed like a secret treasure hidden in the valley, a reward for her perseverance and curiosity. As the afternoon progressed, Ayana explored the area around the waterfall. She discovered rare plants growing in the moist soil, some with bright flowers and others with leaves that glistened in the sunlight. She carefully collected a few, keeping in mind her mother's teachings about using only what was necessary and leaving the rest to thrive. She also noticed small insects and amphibians living near the water, each playing a part in the delicate balance of the ecosystem. Ayana felt a deep sense of respect and gratitude for the life around her. Later, she climbed a gentle slope that led to a plateau overlooking the valley. From this vantage point, she could see the entire landscape, the forests, streams, hills, and hidden clearings. The view reminded her of how vast and beautiful the world could be, and how much there was still to learn and explore. She felt a mixture of humility and excitement, understanding that her journey was part of a much larger story, one that included the land, the animals, her family, and her ancestors. As the day drew to a close, Ayanna decided to make a small camp near the waterfall. She gathered dry twigs and leaves for a fire and cooked a simple meal from the food she had brought. While eating, she thought about the lessons of the day: patience, observation, respect, and courage. Each discovery, each challenge, and each moment of quiet reflection had taught her something new. She understood that life, much like the valley, was full of beauty, surprises, and challenges, and that the key to happiness and growth was to embrace it all with an open heart and mind. Before going to sleep, Ayanna sat quietly beside the waterfall, listening to the gentle flow of water and the distant calls of birds returning to their nests. She watched the colors of the sunset reflect on the water, and she felt a deep sense of peace. She knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges and discoveries, but she felt ready. Her journey through the valley had already taught her so much, and she was eager to continue learning, growing, and honoring the world around her. As night fell, she wrapped herself in a simple cloth for warmth and lay down beside the fire. The stars shone brightly above, and she felt a connection to the generations before her who had walked the land. She closed her eyes with a heart full of gratitude and curiosity, ready to face whatever the next day would bring. The morning sun slowly rose over the hidden valley, spreading soft golden light across the trees, streams, and hills. Ayanna woke to the gentle sound of the waterfall she had camped near, its constant flow creating a soothing rhythm. She stretched carefully, feeling the energy in her muscles from the adventures of the previous days, and prepared herself for another day of exploration. Today, she decided, she would move beyond the familiar parts of the valley and discover areas she had never seen before. After packing her bundle of herbs and flowers, Ayanna set off along a narrow path that followed the stream. The morning air was fresh, carrying the scent of damp earth and wildflowers. Birds chirped cheerfully in the trees above, and small animals rustled through the underbrush. Ayanna felt a deep connection to the world around her, appreciating the simple beauty of each moment. She walked slowly, observing the patterns in nature, the shapes of the clouds, and the movements of animals nearby. Every step was a lesson in patience and awareness. As she ventured deeper into the valley, she encountered a small ridge overlooking a dense forest. From this vantage point, she could see sunlight filtering through the treetops, creating a dance of light and shadow on the forest floor. Ayanna felt a mixture of excitement and curiosity. The forest seemed alive with possibilities, new plants to discover, hidden streams to follow, and perhaps even signs of creatures she had not yet seen. She descended carefully, stepping lightly on the earth to avoid disturbing the life around her. The forest was cool and shaded, a welcome relief from the bright sun. Ayanna noticed a variety of trees she had never seen before, with thick trunks and twisting branches. Moss grew on the stones and tree roots, adding a soft green carpet to the forest floor. She knelt to examine some of the plants, recognizing a few from her mother's teachings and noting others she would need to learn more about. The diversity of life amazed her, and she felt grateful for the chance to witness it firsthand. As she moved deeper into the forest, Ayanna heard the distant sound of a bird calling. She followed the sound carefully, curious to see where it came from. Soon, she spotted a small family of deer grazing in a sunlit clearing. She froze, observing them quietly so as not to startle them. The deer moved gracefully, their ears alert and eyes watchful. Ayanna admired their calm confidence and the way they seemed to belong completely to this part of the valley. She realized that her presence in the forest was that of a respectful visitor, learning from the land rather than claiming it. After spending some time in the clearing, Ayana continued her journey and soon found a narrow, winding path that led to a small hill. The climb was steep, and she had to use her hands for balance in some places. She remembered her father's advice: every challenge has a lesson. Observe, think, and act carefully. With each careful step, she felt stronger and more capable, understanding that her journey was not just about discovering the valley, but also about discovering her own inner strength. At the top of the hill, she found a small plateau overlooking the entire forest. The view was breathtaking. She could see the winding stream she had been following, the waterfall sparkling in the distance, and the hidden valleys beyond. She felt a sense of accomplishment and wonder. From this height, she noticed a small patch of land that looked different from the rest of the forest. The trees were sparser, and sunlight reached the ground more easily. Yana decided to explore it, curious about what she might find. Descending toward the patch of land, she discovered a small clearing filled with rare flowers she had never seen before. Their colors were vibrant, reds, blues, and yellows, and their petals seemed to glow in the sunlight. Yana knelt carefully among them, taking note of the shapes and scents. She carefully collected a few, leaving most untouched, respecting the delicate balance of nature. She thought about how these flowers might help her mother create medicines and remedies, and she felt a sense of pride in her discovery. While exploring the clearing, she noticed signs of animal activity, small tracks in the soil and broken branches where creatures had moved through. She realized that this part of the valley was home to many animals who depended on the plants and streams for survival. Yana spent time observing them quietly, learning from their movements and behavior. She understood that every living thing had a role to play, and that careful observation could teach her more than any book or lesson ever could. As the afternoon sun climbed high, the air grew warmer, and Ayana decided to follow the stream that ran through the clearing. The water was cool and inviting, and she dipped her hands into it, letting the gentle flow refresh her. She noticed fish swimming beneath the surface and small insects skimming along the water. She knelt to watch them closely, appreciating the small details of life she might have overlooked if she had hurried through. The stream seemed to tell a story, moving steadily onward, carrying lessons of persistence and resilience. Later in the day, Ayana discovered a small cave hidden behind a cluster of rocks. It was partially covered by vines, and she could see that it had been untouched for some time. She approached carefully, feeling a sense of curiosity mixed with respect. Inside, the cave was cool and dark, with walls that had faint markings from long ago. She traced the lines with her fingers, wondering about the people who had made them and the stories they had wanted to tell. Ayana felt a deep connection to the past, realizing that the land held memories as well as life. After exploring the cave, she returned to the clearing to rest. She unpacked a small meal of bread, nuts, and dried fruit, savoring each bite. While eating, she reflected on the day's discoveries. The plants, the animals, the cave, and the lessons she had learned from moving carefully, observing closely, and respecting the world around her. She understood that each day in the valley was teaching her more about life, patience, and the importance of harmony with nature. As the afternoon turned to evening, Ayana gathered firewood and lit a small fire near the stream. She prepared a simple meal and sat quietly, listening to the sounds of the forest settling in for the night. Birds returned to their nests, and small creatures rustled in the underbrush. The waterfall in the distance glimmered in the last light of the sun. Yana felt a deep sense of peace and gratitude. She realized that the challenges she had faced today, the climb, the careful observation, the respect for nature, had made her stronger, wiser, and more connected to the land. Before going to sleep, she sat beside the stream, watching the reflection of the stars on the water's surface. She thought about her family and the lessons they had taught her about courage, patience, and respect. She promised herself that she would continue to honor these lessons, sharing her knowledge and discoveries with those she loved. As the stars shone brightly above, Ayanna felt ready for whatever challenges and adventures the next day would bring. She closed her eyes with a heart full of hope, curiosity, and determination, knowing that her journey through the valley was far from over. The sun rose slowly over the hidden valley, spreading soft golden light across the hills, streams, and forests. Ayanna woke feeling refreshed and ready for the day ahead. She had spent several days exploring the valley, learning about its plants, animals, and hidden places. Each day had taught her lessons about patience, courage, and respect for the world around her. Today, she felt, would be the day to discover something truly remarkable, something that would leave a lasting memory of her journey. She packed her small bundle of herbs, flowers, and plants she had carefully collected over the past days, making sure to leave enough behind for the valley to continue thriving. She tied her hair back neatly, adjusted her water pouch, and set out with determination. The morning air was fresh and cool, filled with the scent of flowers and the gentle sounds of birds and insects. She felt deeply connected to the land around her, understanding that each step she took was a part of her own growth and the story of the valley itself. As she walked, she followed the winding stream that had guided her through much of the valley. The water sparkled in the morning sunlight, and she noticed small fish swimming gracefully beneath its surface. She paused frequently to observe the plants and animals along the way, appreciating the delicate balance of life in this hidden world. Rabbits darted across the fields, birds sang from the treetops, and a deer family grazed quietly nearby. Ayanna realized that the valley was a living classroom, offering lessons in every moment if she took the time to notice. After a few hours of walking, Ayanna came across a narrow path that led to a hill she had not explored before. The climb was steep and challenging, but she remembered her father's words: "Every challenge has a lesson, and every obstacle teaches strength." Carefully, she placed her feet on stable rocks and moved steadily upward. The higher she climbed, the more breathtaking the view became. She could see the streams winding through the valley, the waterfall glistening in the distance, and the dense forest stretching far beyond. She felt a sense of pride and accomplishment, knowing that her courage and perseverance had brought her to this vantage point. At the top of the hill, she noticed something unusual: a small grove of trees arranged in a circular pattern, as if nature itself had created a quiet gathering place. The sunlight fell gently through the branches, casting soft patterns on the ground. Ayanna stepped into the circle, feeling an unexpected calm. She knelt to examine the soil, noticing that rare herbs and flowers grew abundantly here. Some of the plants had vibrant colors she had never seen before, and she carefully collected a few samples to bring home, leaving the majority untouched. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for this gift from the valley, understanding that it was a reward for her respect, patience, and careful observation. While exploring the grove, she heard the distant sound of running water. Following it, she discovered a small pond hidden among the trees. The water was crystal clear, reflecting the sky and the surrounding plants like a mirror. She knelt beside it, letting her hands touch the cool water, feeling a refreshing calm. The pond seemed to symbolize the heart of the valley, a place of balance, life, and serenity. Ayanna realized that all her efforts, her careful steps, her attention to detail, and her respect for nature had led her to this special place. It was a reminder that patience, curiosity, and kindness could lead to great discoveries. As she rested by the pond, she noticed signs of animal life nearby. Small tracks in the soft earth showed that foxes, rabbits, and birds had visited the area. She observed quietly, taking care not to disturb them. The creatures moved with confidence and grace, perfectly adapted to their environment. Yana understood that she was witnessing a small part of the valley's story, one that had continued long before she arrived and would continue long after she left. She felt honored to be part of it, even for a brief time. After some time, she continued exploring the surrounding area. She climbed another gentle hill and discovered a small cave hidden behind thick foliage. The entrance was narrow, and vines partially covered it, but she carefully made her way inside. The cave was cool and dark, with smooth walls and small markings left by nature over time. She felt a quiet reverence as she stepped further in, realizing that this place had likely remained untouched for many years. She sat for a moment, listening to the echoes of dripping water and imagining the stories that the land could tell. The cave seemed like a secret held by the valley itself, a place of reflection and discovery. Exiting the cave, Ayana noticed the afternoon sun beginning to lower, casting long shadows across the valley. She decided it was time to make her way back to her small camp near the waterfall. On the way, she reflected on everything she had learned: courage, patience, careful observation, respect for life, and the joy of discovery. She realized that these lessons were more valuable than any treasure she could have found, shaping her into a stronger, wiser, and more thoughtful person. Back at her camp, she prepared a simple meal and sat beside the fire, enjoying the peaceful sounds of the valley. Birds returned to their nests, small animals rustled through the underbrush, and the water of the waterfall sparkled in the fading light. Yana felt a deep sense of accomplishment and gratitude. She had explored new areas, discovered rare plants, observed animals, and connected deeply with the natural world. More importantly, she had learned about herself, her courage, patience, curiosity, and ability to respect and learn from her surroundings. As night approached, she sat quietly beside the stream, watching the reflection of the stars in the water. The sky was clear, filled with countless points of light, each one a reminder of the vastness of the world and the possibilities it held. Yana thought about her family and the lessons they had taught her. She felt proud to carry forward their knowledge and to share her own discoveries with them. She knew that her journey through the valley was not only about exploring nature, but also about growing as a person and honoring the traditions and wisdom she had inherited. Before falling asleep, she made a promise to herself. She would continue to explore, learn, and grow, always treating the land and its creatures with respect. She would take the lessons of the valley, courage, patience, observation, and kindness, into every part of her life. The hidden valley had become a place of learning, reflection, and inspiration, shaping her into someone ready to face the world with confidence and understanding. As she drifted to sleep, the sounds of the waterfall, the gentle rustle of leaves, and the quiet calls of night animals surrounded her. The stars shone brightly above, and Ayana felt a profound sense of connection to her family, to her ancestors, to the valley, and to herself. She knew that her journey was a beginning, a foundation for the many adventures and discoveries that lay ahead. With a heart full of gratitude, hope, and determination, she closed her eyes, ready for whatever the next day would bring. The valley had given her more than she could have imagined. It had taught her lessons that could never be found in books, shown her wonders that only patience and curiosity could reveal, and reminded her of the importance of respect, courage, and observation. Yana knew that she would carry the valley in her heart forever, sharing its lessons and beauty with those she loved, and continuing her journey as a thoughtful, courageous, and curious person ready to embrace all that life had to offer.